Can we be intentional about when, how, and where we sleep to elevate the quality of our sleep? These are the three questions that we answer today. Dr. Shweta Kanchan is a sleep specialist who got fascinated with sleep medicine and carried out postdoctoral research work at King George's Medical College. She has several publications in various national and international journals, and her work on sleep during COVID-19 pandemic was published in the prestigious Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine. She is certified by the prestigious World Sleep Society and also holds the RPSGT credential, which is a gold standard certification of sleep technology. Let's get started. Hey everyone, I'm Deepa, Light Functional Medicine practitioner, author and yogini, and you're listening to the Sleep Whisperer podcast, the only sleep podcast with conversations and meditations. I'm on a mission to share profoundly insightful sleep conversations with global visionaries that merge together functional medicine and ancient wisdom. Breathe in bliss through weekly guided meditations and let yourself enter the land of dreams. Together, let's unravel the pieces, get to the roots, and understand the right tools to transform your sleep completely. Through this podcast, I want you to dream the best version of yourself. It's time to regain hope and begin your sleep journey. Shweta, welcome back to the Sleep Whisperer podcast. We had a great conversation last time on sleep, myths around sleep, and we did a double episode back then. Today we are talking about when, how, and where to sleep. Is there a choice? And this seems like a simple question, but I think there's so many nuances to this. And as a sleep expert, I think you're a great person to talk about this. And of course, if anyone wants to know about you specifically, they can go back to our previous episode, listen to how your journey came into sleep. Today, I'd like us to just jump into the conversation and begin with when do we sleep? Do we have a choice? And this is something that's personally important to me, Shweta, especially there's so much conflicting information in the sleep space about this. There are popular books that talk about us having differing sleeping times. So I am personally interested in diving deep into when do we sleep and do we have a choice?
All right. So, first of all, thank you very much, Deepa. It was very interesting even the last time. It was great conversing with you, and I hope we have the same great conversation this time too. So, the starting first question is such a wonderful question, and I'd like to clarify it. When do we sleep? Do we have a choice? I would say not much of a choice here, because actually, as sleep is one thing which has been retained through the turmoils of evolution across trillions of years. You know, a lot of things have gone vestigial. A lot of organs we no longer use. A lot of physiological functions have gone obsolete. They are no more necessary for human existence. But why is it that sleep has been retained despite, a lot, despite so many things that have changed the course in the course of evolutionary changes that happen? It is because it is regulating a lot of important functions for the body. It is safeguarding the body to maintain itself in that natural, optimal state of physiological functioning. What we are able to do in the daytime, it's because we sleep in the nighttime. So when we sleep in the night. Do we have a choice? Can we make it? Let's sleep in the daytime, work in the night. We can do it, but we should be prepared to face consequences as a regard, because this is what is happening when people are having shift workers. They have shift work disorders. When people travel across time zones, like somebody is going from India to the US, they can have jet lag. So whenever you are competing with sleep, whenever you are trying to have a tussle with sleep, believe me, it is going to be a battle you will lose, because it is something that the way nature has intended us to be. The nature intended us to work in the daytime, to sleep in the night time. That was a time when the battery, that is the body, was meant to be charged. The detoxification occurred, and if we try to reverse it, then asleep, and that can definitely lead to a lot of disorders, metabolic disorders, lot of malignancies, lot of other issues. So we don't have a choice, Deepa. It is a myth that the youngsters are playing with sleep. And I would really like to emphasize through your podcast here to those youth, I mean, young people who are hearing it, that it is really not good play with your sleep. Human beings are the only species who are doing it at a big, big cost to themselves. Sleep is meant to happen in the night across the specified duration of hours that is adequate for you, because everybody has different needs for sleep. And if we play with it voluntarily, then consequences will be grave. And people have to realize it before it is too long, because that is happening in the society nowadays.
And Shweta, I mean, I know you spoke about shift work. Okay, there are, of course, certain people who cannot avoid shift work, and it's a cost of livelihood versus choice. So sometimes they don't always have a choice. Now, that's another category of people, and for whom I have a great episode on shift work and sleep and how to navigate that. But let's talk a little bit more about when to sleep for somebody who doesn't have shift work. I'd like to go a little bit into ideal times to go to bed, because this can vary so much. And, sometimes people are quite fascinated or amused at my sleep cycle, because I sleep by 7:30 p.m. and I like to wake up at 3:30 a.m. Now, this is my rhythm and I don't like to upset that, because I function very well from an early morning clock and sleeping early. Now, I understand that's not always practical or possible for many. And of course, I do advise clients that try to be in bed before 10 p.m. But let's talk a little bit, because there's a large window there, right? It could be anything from 8 p.m. to midnight. There are people who make 1 a.m. a regular sleep time. So
Right.
within this wide window, and if we don't have shift work or something that makes us stay up for a particular reason, what would be the best times to go to bed?
So that's an excellent question, Deepa, and more so because it is very relevant, and more so because people actually are not aware. Everybody has their own sweet time, and everybody is quite happy with it, especially the younger generation. So, with regard to sleep and the shift work, so that's another category in itself. If we have time, maybe we can discuss a bit about it. But for now, it is important that people also, they have shift workers. They have to be dealt differently. They have to be dealt in a way that the circadian timing is synchronized, and they don't suffer a lot of malfunctions because of those dysynchrony between the day and night time and their bodily clock. So that is quite a different topic. But what you have asked me for now, it is important that everybody realizes what happens in the body is that as the sun rises, right? When the sun rises, there is that hormone called melatonin. So that hormone is inducted with darkness. And as the light, as the light increases, or as the sun, as we have the day hours, the hormone keeps on decreasing. So when the nighttime ensures, if somebody is following the day and light that is occurring on an inhabited island, and they are very much like in sync with nature, then maybe when it is time for the dusk, that is the sun is just setting, that is somewhere around the time when the melatonin surge or the melatonin onset starts happening. So that in the scientific language is called dim light melatonin onset, or DLMO. So this is the particular concentration of melatonin. When that is rest in your body, it's an indicator to the body. Now is the time that after a few hours from now, the body will land up into sleep. So that is the sleep gate will open and the person will go into sleep. Because as you know, sleep and wake is a all and none phenomena. Either we sleep or we wake. There are no gray zones in between, right? So ideally, that is when the dusk ensures the melatonin will rise, and when it is further dark, the melatonin concentration will reach up to a level where the person can go and fall asleep, and whatever biochemical changes, whatever neurochemical changes, whatever there's a sleep circuitry in the brain, so then it will act in a way that the sleep switch is open. Neurotransmitters called GABA and glycine are now in an ample amount, and they are acting on different places in the brain cortex, and they are putting a shut on the alerting centers. The body is in a state of sleep. So till the time is a few, just an hour or two from dusk, maybe as 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. And but that is just when the conditions are natural. So when you haven't put yourself into any artificial lighting, but that is not how things work in the actual day life. People have to work. People are exposed to lightning. We have all lighted up houses and offices. So there also, the ideal time would be when it is a time to dusk. You start, and maybe from 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. onward, just start dimming your lights. Just start, getting into that frame of mind that now in a few hours I'll have to go into sleep, because sleep, like any other thing, is a beautiful ritual that should be followed religiously at a fixed time every single day, so that your cycle doesn't break. You have a smooth sleep wake rhythm, and when the rhythm is smooth, you will definitely derive all the benefits that sleep gives to the body. So I will suggest that time should be like maybe 9 p.m. or 10 p.m., not later than that. That doesn't make any sense, because then the body will not get the maximum benefits it should have from sleep, both the non-REM as well as the REM sleep. So you have to have those 4 to 6 cycles every night. For that, you sleep by 10, and wake up is like when you wake up, you should feel alert, awake, no need for an alarm or somebody persistently asking you to wake up, and you should be fresh during the day. As you said, it's the case with you. So maybe whatever duration your body requires, you sleep from 10 to 4 or 5. And once you're awake, the indicator is if you're awake without an alarm, and if you can go across the day without feeling drowsy or sleepy, you have had a good sleep, and that should be your individual indication towards how much sleep you need and when should you sleep. So yeah.
So when it comes to how do we sleep, Shweta, do we have a choice? Meaning like, how do we sleep? Like, is there something which helps us to go to sleep?
Yeah. So that is a very good question. So we have talked about when and why, but the how is as important as either of these. What I feel is, and what researchers have proven, that there should be a pre-bedtime schedule, and which is, a beautiful gift of nature in terms of reviving our body, and it is occurring every single day without fail. Like without fail, the sun comes up, and the sunset occurs, and the moon comes up, and the day and night is happening. Similarly, the body waking up for a certain duration of hours and sleeping for a certain duration of hours, that's as important. And it is equally important to have a pre-bedtime schedule. That is how you should go to bed. Preferably, before you go to bed, the person should be relaxed in a state of mind that should be leading to sleep. We always say that to the patients or to people who who approach us for counseling regarding good sleep, we keep telling them that your thoughts should be settled before you go to bed. It should be like you clean up the house is all done, the kitchen is all cleaned up before a lady goes to bed. Similarly, your thoughts should be well settled, and the brain should be eased out, relaxed. People can have, a bath, a warm bath. They can have maybe they should take dinner early, so that they can have a good sleep. Then their thoughts should be settled. To some who have the tendency of their thoughts being disturbed, it is a good habit to write a journal or a diary, so that you can just settle your thoughts. They can listen to some kind of relaxation music, or read something which is, which is relaxing, some any kind of book which relaxes them. Something which is not too stimulating like television or mobile, that is certainly not recommended. So they should have some kind of pre-bedtime schedule. That is how we should go to bed. We should have some activities lined up which we should perform, and that is the brain, through the process of conditioning, would condition itself that now it's the time to sleep. And now it's the time I'll go into that process of healing, nurturing, and then waking up to a fresh day the next day. Yes.
Great, Shweta. And when it comes to where do we sleep, and this is
Yeah.
something that has been on my mind because I see a lot of friends, and even recently I had a video call with a friend in Canada, and it was the night for him, and he was talking, and we could see his wife sleeping while he was talking behind him. And I can see a lot of times, and I've asked this question to so many of them, that why do you sleep with the bedroom light on? And then they say,
Right.
no, I can't sleep if I don't have the light on. There's some sort of a fear. So I think this is an important question, one that seems quite simple. When we say, where do we sleep? People may say the bedroom, but how is that
Yeah.
set up? Do we have a television? There are so many of us who watch television and just fall asleep, and then they wake up after a few hours, realize, and switch off the remote. So let's talk a little bit about where do we sleep.
Right. Deepa, this is a very interesting question. So where do we sleep? It's very easy to say in the bedroom. That's where we are supposed to sleep. So what's the where and what's the twist in it? But there are twists to it because I'll just be sharing a very interesting study which was taking place in India for the last many years. It is called the Great India Sleep Scorecard. And what has been found that more than 70% of Indians go to bed with the phone. That's a mobile. That's the kind of habit that they have fallen in the trap of. And this, not just the phone, people are in the habit of, I mean, watching television from the bed. Some people, they have their light switched off till very late hours. Then mobile is of course a constant companion on the bed. People use it for alarm in your own house on the same bed every single night. That is your bedroom. So there should be a space which should be specified for sleep, that this is my place to sleep. That particular space or that area, that bed of yours should only be restricted for sleep. Other activities shouldn't be performed on it, like you shouldn't be eating, you shouldn't be talking, you shouldn't be watching phone, you should not be doing any other thing except sleeping on it. Because again, as I said, this is a very simple thing which occurs is with your brain, is that these are conditioning. You're giving the brain clues that yes, I can take loads of stress on my mind sitting here and worrying and taking and getting anxiety issues. This is my place to discuss the daily what has happened in the course of the day with my spouse or my sibling. This is the place where I talk with my cousins on phone for long hours, or my friends in night time. No. If these things are to be done, then you can designate a separate area for them, but not on the bed. So that is one thing, because the brain should be acclimatized or conditioned to consider the bed as a place to sleep. It has been found that people who have insomnia, right? People who have they don't have good sleep hygiene. Such persons use their bed for a lot of activities. Youngsters who cannot sleep till 3 a.m., they study on their bed. They keep telling us, yes, that's where I study. We are in a hostel. My bed, we talk with friends, then it's the same bed. We are studying with all our books. They they don't realize that this is what they are doing is damaging their circadian rhythm, because you have to maintain the sanctity of the bed, and you cannot use it for multiple tasking. So where we sleep in the bedroom, we sleep in a designated place, we keep it exclusively for sleeping. If at all we can't sleep for some reason someday, then the literature says if it is more than 20 minutes and you can't sleep on the bed, please go out of the bed, go in a separate room, or in the same room on a chair, sit there, do something boring, something which doesn't stimulate your mind, till sleep spontaneously ensures, and you feel like going and sleeping on the bed. Because that is one another area. People sleep on the bed, but they just sometimes sleep is not coming, they have some issues or some disorders, they will be on the bed worrying, waiting for sleep. And please don't, that is not to be done, that is to be avoided. So that is also one thing which I'd like to add. It's where we sleep.
And I think you made a good point, Shweta, that sometimes boredom can be a very good thing. I think we live in a world where boredom is looked at as something which is really wrong. And even kids today, I remember that as a child, I was bored a lot, but we didn't consider that there's something wrong in having boredom, because that's part of how we are as human beings. But even kids today, cannot sit 10 minutes without an iPad or a phone because the boredom is something that they're trying to escape from. And I think we are living in a world of such stimulation where we're always trying to run from boredom. And what you said is that boredom can be used beautifully to entice sleep. So what I took away from all of this, Shweta, is that when do we sleep? You said try to go with nature and try to go around 8 to 9 so that you use nature's rhythms, the endocrine cycle, to help fall asleep.
Right.
And then
Exactly.
we spoke a little bit about how do we sleep, and you raised a very relevant point that we must empty our mind before we go to sleep. No matter how we do that, whether it's journaling, just leave behind those thoughts and the stimulation. And of course, finally, we spoke about where do we sleep, and you raise the pertinent point that we need to sleep where we keep the bedroom only for sleep. And I think this point I bring into my entire house, Shweta, because there are times I want to take my laptop and go work downstairs, and I refrain from doing that because I've created spaces where perhaps my living room is a place of relaxation. I don't want to bring the energy of my work into that space. So I'm very specific that I will only work in my workspace. So I think we've covered some beautiful points, very relevant, very basic, but something that we're running away from. And what I really love from our conversation, Shweta, is that you bring the attention back to simplicity, that as a nation globally, rather, that we are on the search for the complex protocols when it comes to sleep, when in truth we need to begin with frameworks of simplicity, of restoring balance, setting frameworks for ourselves where we don't need complex medication, complex protocols. And beautiful conversation. Thank you once again. It was a great
Deepa,
conversation.
it's really great conversing with you. And the point that you said at the last, it really touched my heart. That bringing back simplicity, boredom is absolutely good. It is not something to be shaken from. They were in the earlier, world when we were kids. There were times like we were bored. So even if kids today are not into their iPads and into their so many things happening and things being droned all across. So if that, some simplicity and something from nature can just come back and be imbibed in a lifestyle, it'll be more beautiful, more useful, and diseases will be at bay. So it was very nice conversing with you, and hopefully people will get something out of it and improve their sleep as well as daily functioning. Thank you, Deepa. Thank you so much.
In this episode, we came back to foundational aspects of sleep, which many at times are the missing pieces. I often get messages from old clients asking about specific supplements they've heard of on podcasts. In fact, the foundations are where all health interventions should begin, be it in sleep or all health. If you have thoughts that resonate with this, connect with me on Instagram at OHA Health. Have a great day. This podcast is intended to provide helpful and informative material on the subject matter covered in the episodes. The podcast is not acting in the capacity of a doctor or a registered dietitian and is not rendering any professional healthcare or medical service. The information in the podcast is not intended as a substitute for medical advice or services or as treatment or cure for any particular health condition. The advice and tools contained herein may not be suitable for your situation. Any medical questions regarding contraindications and cautions, or any questions on whether or not to proceed with any practices provided in the show should be referred to qualified health professionals before adopting the same. The podcast specifically disclaims any responsibility for any liability, loss, risk, personal or otherwise, which may be incurred as a direct or indirect consequence of the use of information from this podcast or the application, adoption of any of the information provided.